Our story begins in March of that fateful year. Winter has finally packed its frosty bags and made way for the warm spring breeze, which has campus students buzzing like bees around a soda can. Freshmen are giddy at the thought of a college romance, cue dramatic glances and shared earbuds, but among all that excitement is one person who feels absolutely nothing. Enter our female lead, the girl in the face cap. She walks with a quiet awkwardness, hyper-aware of two whispering girls nearby. They've clearly noticed her, and not in the good, hey she's cute way. Rumors follow her like a pop-up ad you can't close. She's supposedly that girl who got weirdly obsessed with her ex. Ouch, she fidgets, adjusting her cap like it holds the power of invisibility. After all the effort she put into her makeover, new hair, new wardrobe, even perfume that screams I've moved on, she's stunned anyone could still recognize her. Turns out, one of the whispering girls shared a freshman class with her, and, unfortunately, has the memory of an elephant with Wi-Fi. That being said, our girl makes a swift U-turn to dodge the whispering duo, only to run headfirst into what feels like a brick wall, except this one has biceps and breathes. Her cap flies off like it's had enough of this drama, and she scrambles to pick it up, mumbling apologies like she just knocked over a museum exhibit. Are you okay? The guy asks, voice calm and familiar, too familiar. Her brain pulls an instant reverse image search, she knows that voice. And sure enough, as she looks up, her suspicions are confirmed. He's staring right at her with a warm smile, slightly messy hair, the kind of guy who makes you question if bad decisions really were that bad. It's him, her ex, the same him people can't stop whispering about like he's Voldemort with better fashion sense. He says he's been worried about her, but before he can even start spinning a heartfelt monologue, Ihyeon bolts like someone hit fast forward. She runs until she's halfway across campus, breathing like she just completed the Olympic sprint, thoughts piling up in her head like overdue assignments. Why is he here? Why now? And most importantly, why does he still look good? The memory plays on loop in Ihyeon's mind like a cursed mixtape, specifically the part where she'd stood in public, heart wide open, practically begging him for answers. That scene had everything: drama, an unbothered ex, and a crowd full of strangers who labeled her desperate without so much as a plot recap. She'd zoned out then, like her soul needed a quick nap. Suddenly, her name is called loudly. She jerks back to reality just in time to mutter present for attendance, but of course, peace is not on today's menu. A ripple of murmurs spreads through the room like someone dropped gossip-flavored candy, and it's instantly followed by side eyes and finger-pointing. Ihyeon stares down at her desk like it's her last hope, doing her best to ignore the boys a few meters away who clearly haven't mastered the art of whispering. Not far off, someone else is watching, but not Ihyeon. A guy, suspiciously handsome with annoyingly flawless features, has his eyes locked on the gossip crew. His friend leans in to ask what's caught his attention, but he just brushes it off like it's nothing. Spoiler, it's not nothing. Class drags on but finally wraps up, and in true student fashion, the room clears faster than a fire drill. Some rush off to grab lunch like their stomachs signed a protest, others mutter about a mountain of homework, and the rest still stuck in academic purgatory, with more classes to attend. Amidst the post-class chatter and chaos, Ihyeon stands frozen like someone who just forgot their own name. She's awkwardly debating the best escape route that doesn't involve public humiliation. With zero hesitation, she yanks her cap lower, the universal symbol for, please don't perceive me, and starts walking away like she's got places to be, and none of them involve eye contact. But alas, fate and a poorly placed foot have other plans. She trips, arms flailing, just seconds from doing a full-face meet and greet with the hallway floor. Luckily, someone catches her by the shoulder, steadying her before gravity finishes the job. You okay? He asks, and she nods, though internally her heart is doing jumping jacks. As she looks up, her eyes meet his, the tall, ridiculously handsome guy from earlier. You know, the one who probably has a skincare routine and mysterious past. Their eyes lock for a second too long, which is basically a century in awkward time, and Ihyeon does what any emotionally overcooked student would do, she bolts again. As she walks home, her steps slow and her brain spirals. She stares blankly ahead, giving major NPC energy, and finally admits to herself, she's totally, completely screwed. One day back at school and she's already on the verge of a mental reboot. With everything spiraling and her heart heavier than her backpack, she can't help but ask herself if she's really going to survive this year. Another question creeps into Ihyeon's already crowded mind: why? Why is her ex still on campus? Isn't there a rule somewhere about exes disappearing into the void after a breakup? The thought sits heavy on her chest like a textbook she didn't ask for. Fast forward to later that day, scene change, she steps out of the shower, fresh and glowing like a skincare commercial come to life. For a moment, everything feels peaceful and then, ring ring, it's a call from mom. The vibe shifts to casual as they chat about school, the dorm, her roommate, and a bunch of harmless, mommish questions. It's a chill convo, no plot twists, but while she's nodding and giving vague responses, Ihyeon's mind does a quick flashback montage of her week. Turns out, she didn't get a spot in the dorms, 0 vacancies, so she had to scramble to find off-campus housing. Classic plot hole mom totally missed. But instead of dropping this little bomb, Ihyeon paints a pretty picture. Everything's fine, dorm's great, roommate's cool, and life is totally not a mess. She even tosses in a believable "my roommate just got back" to end the call. And why lie, you ask? Well, simple, she doesn't want her mom worrying. Let's be real, if parental concern could be bottled, it would come in industrial size. So for now, Ihyeon keeps her mess to herself, puts on a brave face, and lets her mom believe everything is sunshine and dorm room fairy lights. A notification lights up Ihyeon's phone and it's from the campus forum, and like any good citizen of the internet, she taps in. One scroll turns into 2, then 5, and suddenly she's neck-deep in a post that yanks her attention like a plot twist mid-episode. It's loaded with comments, some messy, some nosy, most unnecessary, and naturally, she dives in. As her thumb glides and her eyes stay glued, her stomach knots. Ihyeon's never been a fan of gossip gremlins spreading false rumors. To her, it's the verbal equivalent of tripping someone and blaming the floor. While scrolling, her mind unhelpfully decides to replay last year's chaos like a sad movie trailer complete with public humiliation, whispers, and more drama than she ever asked for. She swallows hard, clears her throat like she's trying to delete the memory manually, and makes a silent vow, no more trashy men. Nope. She grabs her jacket, determined to shift her focus, and steps out for a breather. A quick run to the nearby departmental store turns into a mini-mission. First she'll pick up some essentials, then breathe actual air, reset. But on her way back, her eyes drift and she spots a guy across the street stumbling like gravity's playing favorites. She pauses, eyebrows doing that suspicious tilt, and wonders aloud, is he drunk or just having a weirdly dramatic walk? A quick glance at her phone tells Ihyeon it's already pretty late enough that seeing a guy stumbling around alone starts to feel like the beginning of a true crime podcast. Her conscience kicks in with all the force of a concerned mom, and though her feet say go home, her heart whispers, you can't just leave him like that. So, doing what any kind-hearted overthinker would do, she walks over with the noblest of intentions. Hey, are you all right? She asks, genuinely worried. But instead of finding someone in need of help, she walks straight into a scene that belongs in a drama series because turns out, he's not struggling to stay upright. No, his lips are currently locked with some girls like they're filming a commercial for poor timing. Ihyeon freezes, her brain buffering like a bad Wi-Fi signal. The guy, yes, the same tall, handsome mystery man from class earlier, pulls back with a smirk, and, like the king of awkward responses, turns to his kiss buddy and casually says, wanna answer her? At that point, Ihyeon mentally detaches from her body. She zones out so hard she could pass for a screensaver. Out of all the possible ways this could have gone, this was definitely not on the bingo card. Ihyeon can't stop thinking about what she saw last night, because it's been playing on a loop in her head like a weird drama scene with no commercial breaks. She even questions if it really happened or if her sleepy brain just made it all up, because honestly, who does that kind of thing in the middle of the street at night like they are auditioning for a scandal? Still deep in thought, she crosses the street on her way to school, only to get hit with part 2 of the shock series. The same guy is at it again, just outside the school gate, in a corner, only this time, it's with a different girl, and Ihyeon nearly drops her bag. Mid-action, the guy glances up and spots her, and before she can even whisper, "Nope," she ducks like she's in a spy movie. For a painfully awkward second, their eyes lock. It's really him looking like he just caught a view mid-live stream, and her looking like she's about to teleport out of there. With Olympic-level reflexes, she bolts to a different corner of the school, clutching her chest like she just ran a marathon, and wondering what kind of main character energy that guy thinks he has. Judging from his expression, it's almost like he wanted her to see him, which is disturbing enough, but the fact he swapped girls like his changing playlists just doesn't sit well with her. Ihyeon kind of feels bad, in a weird second-hand embarrassment kind of way, like, sure, kissing isn't a crime, but there's definitely something unsettling about having a serial smoocher roaming free on campus like it's some romantic battlefield. Add his flashy looks to the mix, shoulder-length blonde hair, and that mysterious vibe, then suddenly, it all clicks. The dots connect like puzzle pieces falling into place. He matches the exact description from last night's campus forum. The same forum where everyone was frantically swapping stories about some legendary menace with commitment issues and a strong jawline. Realizing he's that guy, Ihyeon has a mental aha moment followed by a heavy sigh. Yep, he's the walking red flag everyone warned her about. From that moment on, she promises herself she's going to keep 10 feet of emotional distance and maybe carry garlic or something, just in case. The day moves along, with Ihyeon sticking to her schedule like a responsible student/trauma survivor, and now she's only got one class left. Feeling a bit more relaxed, she's on her way when she hears voices up ahead, and some guys talking a little too loud, and unfortunately, a little too specifically. It only takes a second for her to realize they are talking about her, and not in the flattering, she's so smart and mysterious kind of way. With zero desire for public awkwardness, or walking into a live gossip session, she casually switches lanes and takes the scenic route to her class, pretending like she just loves the long way. Ihyeon's walking like a girl on a mission, except the mission is mostly overthinking and mentally re-editing the entire day's events like a film director in crisis. So deep in thought, she doesn't notice people yelling her name, waving, or maybe even throwing confetti. Okay, not that dramatic, but the point is, she's not getting the memo. And just as she finally turns toward the commotion like, boom, she's struck by a flying soccer ball, and not gently. Her glasses hit the ground first, and a split second later, she follows, like a domino piece of bad decisions. There's a collective gasp from the students nearby, all now unsure whether to panic, call an ambulance, or start a support group. As she lies there, blinking at the sky, Ihyeon can't help but wonder if she should have just taken another gap year, and saved herself the dramatic plot twists. The soccer player rushes over, all frantic apologies and flustered guilt, while Ihyeon insists she's fine even if she's seeing 3 versions of the same tree. She sits up, wincing, and reaches for her glasses, only to see a hand get there first. Someone crouches in front of her, picks up the glasses with calm confidence, and hands them over like a knight returning a sacred relic. She murmurs a quick thank you, still too dazed to focus, and that's when he hits her with it. "You actually look prettier without them," he says. And cue internal screaming. Because of course it's him, the very same kissing menace from earlier, now doubling as a walking cliché. Ihyeon freezes, wondering if the universe is playing a prank on her or if this is just the campus version of a rom-com with a few too many plot twists. At another point in time, our favorite chaos coordinator, the kissing freak, is casually chatting with a friend, though the topic isn't as casual as his tone, the subject. None other than Ihyeon. Yep, he's got a bit of a crush, though he's playing it cooler than a fridge in Antarctica. Trying not to look too interested, he casually asks his friend about her like he's just gathering campus trivia. His friend, clearly the type to know everyone's business without even trying, drops a bomb. Ihyeon's the girl who once threatened to take her own life after a brutal breakup, and she vanished for a couple of years after the incident. While that kind of revelation would shock most people into silence, our guy takes a slow drag from his cigarette, and you guessed it, smiles. Not a full grin, just a flicker of interest that gives away more than he probably realizes. He's thrilled, but in a calm, mysterious, I thrive on tragic backstories kind of way. His friend, meanwhile, admits he's always wondered if Ihyeon was actually cute, like she was some campus cryptid or urban legend. But our main guy just shrugs, playing the whole thing off with a nonchalance that's definitely not fooling anyone. Even though he's mid-conversation with his friends, his mind is somewhere else, specifically, on Ihyeon's face. And with a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips, he claims getting her to fall for him. Yeah, he can make that happen, like it's just another game to win, another mission to accomplish. And honestly, with that energy, I'm not going anywhere, I need to see how this one plays out. Now in her last class of the day, Ihyeon finds it impossible to concentrate. Her mind keeps drifting back to him, and right now he's practically the human embodiment of unwanted drama, who somehow keeps popping up like a glitch in the campus matrix. She's still low-key mourning her poor glasses, innocent casualties in a tragic soccer ball ambush, and now every memory of the incident just comes with his smug face attached. She desperately hopes he hasn't been snooping around, asking about her like he's casting for his next reality show crush. But of course, the universe has jokes. Because from that day on, it's like he's everywhere. First, he shows up at lunch and actually approaches her, bold move, really, and she reacts like a cat who just saw a cucumber, instant dash. Then there's the time he casually waves while strolling with his friends, and she gives him the coldest, most elegant ignore in recorded history. Off campus too, like there's no escape. One day, she spots him on the street with, surprise, yet another different girl. Ihyeon's just praying silently to every deity that they don't cross paths this time. But fate, being the petty drama king it is, laughs in her face. He walks right up to her, all confident and towering like he owns the sidewalk. And just like that, she does what she does best, makes a clean getaway. The girl he's with, clearly confused, starts interrogating him like a detective in a K-drama, asking about Ihyeon. But instead of answering, he just grins to himself, eyes distant, like he's planning world domination, or maybe just another meet-cute disaster. Either way, Ihyeon's just trying to survive the semester, and this dude, he's giving main antagonist energy. The next day rolls around and Ihyeon's dragging herself across campus, like she's running on 3% battery, and zero will to socialize. Of course, because the universe loves drama, she crosses paths with him again, yes, the tall, smirking chaos magnet she's been trying to avoid like a group project with no clear instructions. As per usual, her instinct kicks in and she prepares for her signature escape dash, but this time, plot twist. He grabs her wrist. Immediate alarm bells go off in her head like she just triggered a security system. She freezes, eyes wide, clearly not expecting physical DLC in this awkward saga. He leans in, all smooth and dramatic, and asks if she's really going to run away again, like he's in some romantic webtoon, and not a walking red flag. Ihyeon turns her gaze away, refusing to make eye contact like it's a dangerous spell, and after a tense second, he notices, his grip softens, maybe even realizing he crossed a line. Before he can say another word, she slips free and bolts like she's got rocket boosters in her shoes. He just stands there, watching the direction she vanished into, probably wondering if she's okay, or if she's part of some park hour club. Later that day, just when Ihyeon thinks the chaos might have peaked, the professor walks in and introduces himself, announcing he'll be handling the course for the semester. She's seated, trying to focus, when she glances to her side and nearly self-destructs because right next to her is him. Yep, the kissing menace himself, now her official class neighbor for the rest of the term. And just like that, Ihyeon's internal system crashes. We are talking weekly proximity. She might need extra credit just for emotional damage. He turns to her mid-lecture, and instantly picks up on the fact that she's visibly uncomfortable, like, textbook awkward, shifting in her seat, please beam me out of here, kind of uncomfortable. Naturally, he does what any self-aware chaos magnet would do, leans in and whispers, focus up. Just 2 words, but they hit Ihyeon like a full-blown plot twist. Her entire system glitches. Her pen stops moving, her thoughts derail, and she's suddenly hyper-aware of how close he is. Meanwhile, he's clearly enjoying himself way too much, almost like he just unlocked a new level in his favorite game called Tease the Introvert. And just when it couldn't possibly get worse, it does. Because right then, someone strolls to the front of the class and casually announces that he'll be the TA for the semester. Ihyeon looks up, hoping it's a stranger, a kind soul, maybe even someone boring. Nope, it's her ex, yep, that ex, the same one tied to all the heartache, the rumors, and the life pause button she hit a while back. She's frozen in her seat now, caught between her emotionally complicated past and her currently maddening seat partner. First the kissing freak, now her ex as the teaching assistant. If this were a TV show, this would be the moment the dramatic music kicks in and the screen slowly fades to black. One thing's for sure, Ihyeon's semester just officially entered survival mode. The T-Dotter starts calling roll, and names echo through the room as students respond like soldiers, all swift, crisp, eager to prove they are academically alive. When he gets to Ihyeon Seon, her reply is less present, and more, do I have to be, reluctant enough to make it clear she's already emotionally checked out. In that moment, she quietly decides this is going to be her worst class ever, right before accidentally locking eyes with her ex across the room. The universe holds its breath for a painfully awkward second before she tears her gaze away like it physically burns. Meanwhile, the self-proclaimed kissing freak, an overly enthusiastic flirt known more for PDA than GPA, catches her acting odd, but, for once, exercises the noble art of shutting up. Class goes by without incident, which is a miracle considering Ihyeon had mentally prepared for academic warfare. As everyone spills into the hallway for lunch like it's recess, she silently admits it wasn't as bad as she thought. Her peace is short-lived though, because the kissing freak suddenly swoops in like a clingy pigeon, grabbing her shoulder and pulling her close to celebrate that he's not the only guy in class swimming in a sea of girls. Ihyeon, visibly uncomfortable and wishing for an eject button, questions his entire existence, then calmly but firmly, asks him to unhand her. Right on cue, her ex shows up at the classroom door, calling her name like a character in a drama who's definitely still hung up. She doesn't flinch, doesn't turn, doesn't blink, instead he just shrugs off the kissing freak's arm like yesterday's bad vibes and walks away, leaving both men behind like she's the main character. He catches the urgency in Ihyeon's stride and glances around, trying to piece together what just made her bolt like the room was on fire. It doesn't take long to connect the dots, and ding ding, we have a winner. His gaze meets the T.A's in a silent, tension-filled stare-off worthy of a Western standoff, minus the tumbleweed. No words are exchanged, just 2 men locking eyes like they are about to duel over ancient history. But our male lead isn't here for theatrics, so he looks away, not out of defeat, but because he's got bigger things to chase. Namely, Ihyeon. Outside the building, the kissing freak magically appears beside her like an overly affectionate ghost and casually drops that the T.A was asking after her. She brushes it off like lint on a sweater, but he's not done yet, oh no. He immediately suggests, with the kind of glee only chaos brings, that her weird behavior must be because the T.A is her ex. Ihyeon practically jumps out of her skin and spins to deny it like her reputation's on the line, only to realize mid-sentence that he's not even sure. He was guessing loudly, correctly, pretty confident too, and now, she's said too much. He's loving every second of this, living for the drama like it's a free reality show. She, on the other hand, is reeling, part regret, Part how did I get here? She watches him play it cool like he didn't just drop a bomb, and in that moment, something clicks. She frowns and tells him flat out that they are not friends, so she's genuinely confused why he's acting like they are. The question hanging in the air like awkward fog: how exactly does she know this guy? Spoiler, she doesn't, and yet, he's talking like they go way back. Chanu Nam, the kissing freak himself, clearly recognizes her from their many bump-ins around campus, but facts are facts and they've never actually had a real conversation. He reminds her that he picked up her glasses the other day, which, in his mind, earns him friendship points. Apparently, being in the same class automatically upgrades acquaintanceship to emotional intimacy. Ihyeon is momentarily stunned when he casually drops her name, eyes narrowing like he's just hacked into her private data. Unbeknownst to her, he only caught it during roll call, but who's ratting him out? He watches her closely, noticing how she answers everything he says even while wearing a face that screams, "Why am I still standing here?" Then, like he's pulling out his trump card, he asks the golden question, does she know his name? The silence that follows hits him harder than he expects. She blinks, tilts her head slightly, and gives a slow, apologetic no. He twitches, visibly offended, and pulls the kind of face that makes her think, just for a second, that she may have messed up. But it fades quickly. He recovers with flair, introduces himself with a little too much drama. Chanu Nam, he says, like it's a name she should write in gold, and then leans in close, smirking as he tells her not to forget it. The sudden closeness makes Ihyeon's heart do a full gymnastics routine in her chest, and Chanu Nam had crept in way too near, startling her like a jump scare in a romantic comedy. He puts on a dramatic pout, claiming he's a little hurt she didn't know his name after all this time, especially since he thought they were friends. She says nothing, probably because she's still recovering from the ambush proximity, or just completely out of words, which is rare for her. Not missing a beat, he points out she's not wearing her glasses anymore and smugly suggests it's because he told her she looked better without them. Ihyeon instantly rejects the idea like it's a malware pop-up, clearly offended that he even dared to take credit for her eyewear choices. Her reactions are sharp, fast, and dripping with irritation. It's exactly the kind of energy Chanu Nam feeds on. He's clearly enjoying himself, while she's mentally writing his name in the "Do Not Disturb" section of her life. Later that evening, as the sky dims and the chaos of the day fades, Ihyeon replays everything in her head. For all its awkwardness, they actually ended up having lunch together, and let's be real, she labels it a narrow escape. The way she sees it, it could have gone worse, much worse. On her way home, a couple walking hand in hand on the sidewalk catches her eye, pulling her into a quiet moment of nostalgia. The scene reminds her of her own past with her ex, and though she quickly shakes it off, she's still left wondering why the good memories sneak up on her when she least expects them. Later that night, Ihyeon's sprawled out in bed, doom scrolling the internet like it's a full-time job when, out of nowhere, her ex pops into her mind again, uninvited, as always. She brushes it off, but then remembers the couple she saw on the sidewalk earlier, and suddenly the mental slideshow of feelings she didn't order starts playing. She jolts upright in bed like someone just whispered "emotional crisis" in her ear. Grabbing her jacket, she decides a late-night walk might help reset her brain. Just as she slips her arms through the sleeves, her phone buzzes and it's a party reminder. Oh right, that thing she had zero intention of attending. With a practiced swipe of indifference, she ignores it and heads out to the departmental store to grab a snack, because nothing says emotional healing like processed sugar. As she walks through the aisles, she notices the place is unusually lively. People are laughing, chatting, basically living their best 2 a.m. sitcom lives. She's just admiring the chaos when, out of nowhere, someone slams into her like she's part of an obstacle course. Her drink flies like it's trying to escape the situation, landing squarely on the guy's shirt. 2 guys are in front of her, one clearly tipsy enough to confuse gravity, and the other scrambling to apologize for his friend's lack of coordination. Ihyeon doesn't make a scene, in fact, she apologizes too, because nothing says socially trained adult like apologizing to the guy whose shirt you just christened with juice. She turns to leave, hoping the chaos is over, but the drunk guy suddenly calls out to her, demanding an apology for his now designer fruit punch-stained shirt. His tone is sharp and unsettling, making Ihyeon's nerves jolt like a tripped alarm. Before panic can fully set in, the friend steps in with a calm, steady voice, assuring her everything's fine and insisting he's got his unhinged buddy under control. He politely tells her to just keep walking, and she does, cautiously, one eye still on the situation. But before she can even process her next step, the drunk guy charges after her like he's auditioning for a villain role, grabbing her by the shoulder and barking for a proper apology. Ihyeon, already tense, calmly tells him she did apologize. People around start pulling him back, but he shakes them off like he's possessed by the spirit of overreaction and yells at her to speak up. Not far off, Chanu Nam, just minding his business and his boba, suddenly gets hit in the arm by a lighter, yes, a literal lighter. He turns, mildly confused and slightly ready to fight, only to find a teary-eyed Ihyeon standing there, stammering an apology. She didn't mean to hit him, it just happened, probably in her frantic attempt to defend herself, or just chuck something at the ground in panic. Chanu stares at her, utterly thrown by the tears, and immediately clocks that something's very wrong. Moments later, the situation has calmed down, the drunk guy's been dealt with, and Ihyeon is walking home with Chanu by her side, this time with a fresh drink in hand and slightly more peace in her heart, even if her night took a wild detour through Dramaville. Chanu Nam breaks the silence with a chuckle, claiming they've got a real talent for meeting at the weirdest times and places, department store drama at night. Classic. He turns to her and notices she's trembling, the aftershock of the chaos still written all over her. Scratching the back of his head like this is way above his emotional pay grade, he admits that comforting crying girls isn't exactly in his skill set, and politely requests that she please stop crying. To his surprise, she actually does. He raises a brow, lowkey impressed like he just disarmed a bomb with words. "You done?" he asks, and though she's clearly embarrassed, she gives him a small nod and says it's all over. In typical Chanu fashion, he whips out his phone like it's a normal follow-up to an emotional breakdown and asks for her number. Ihyeon, running on autopilot, and maybe guilt, gives it to him without blinking because what kind of monster says no after all that? He's visibly surprised she didn't dodge the request, but naturally plays it cool like he totally saw that coming. Just then, like drama heard it was being discussed and decided to RSVP, someone walks up to them. Cue the dramatic music, it's Hyung, the TA himself, the ex, the source of so many mental reruns. The moment his eyes land on her, Ihyeon, acting entirely on impulse and possibly possessed by emotional confusion, she wraps her arms around Chanu Nam's arm. No planning, no logic, it's just pure panic-coded reaction. She has no idea why she did it, what she's doing, or what kind of relationship plotline she just unlocked. All she knows is that things just escalated fast, and it's a mess, but wow, it's an absolutely delicious mess. Ihyeon reaches her building only to freeze mid-step, because Chanu Nam is right there, casually strolling in ahead of her like this is his rom-com. He even glances back and gestures like, well, are you coming or not, which leaves her more confused than when she tries to untangle her earbuds. Let's rewind a bit. Her ex-boyfriend popped up out of nowhere like a plot twist no one asked for, so in a panic, she grabbed the nearest human shield, Chanu Nam, and pretended to be all cuddled up. When the ex started getting suspicious, Chanu smoothly talked them out of the situation like he moonlights as a crisis negotiator. You'd think they'd part ways right after, but nope, they just kept walking together, both too awkward to say much, but also not wanting to split up. As they near her place, Ihyeon tries to thank him for the escort, but Chanu drops the mic, actually he lives in the same building. Turns out the boys and girls have separate floors, which explains why she keeps seeing him around, but never bumping into him in the hallway. Coincidence? Fate? Or just the universe shipping them hard? It's painfully awkward for Ihyeon, But hey, sometimes life hands you cringe instead of closure, and you just have to roll with it. While she's mentally drafting her resignation letter from social interaction, Chanu Nam leans in with a smirk and teases her for zoning out again, like she forgot she lives here. Then, as if he's auditioning for the role of human doorframe, he blocks her way with that linebacker-sized frame of his, leaving her looking like a confused squirrel at a toll gate. She musters up a thank you for his heroic role in today's emotional soap opera, though it's clear her social battery is flashing red. Noticing her discomfort, Chanu doubles down, teasing her for getting flustered, then casually drops the bomb, he likes her. What does she think of him? The question is so random it short-circuits her brain, and right as she's buffering, he throws in a, just kidding, clearly enjoying her priceless reaction. Right on cue, Seon Kang, her floormate, walks by, spots the scene, and calls him out like a referee catching foul play, telling Chanu Nam to quit messing with her girl. Seon Kang pulls Ihyeon aside like a mom collecting her kid from a suspicious playdate, and just like that, Chanu Nam's left standing there with nothing but his charm and confusion. The girls head back to their floor, chatting about tomorrow's shared lecture, and making plans to walk to school together. Once inside her room, Ihyeon drops her snacks like emotional baggage, sheds her jacket, and flops into bed like it personally betrayed her. She lies there, blinking at the ceiling, wondering how she went from faking a relationship to possibly starring in one. Next thing she knows, it's morning. At 7 a.m. sharp she wakes and moments later, she's out the door with Seon Kang, and surprise. Chanu Nam's tagging along like it's a group project no one signed up for. Somehow, the three of them spend the whole day together, casually chatting and strolling around campus like it's always been a thing. Ihyeon's low-key confused the entire time. Since when did she start doing trio hangouts with the campus heartthrob and her floor buddy? But weirdly enough, despite the chaos, she catches herself smiling, real smiles. Talking to people, and for the first time in a while, school doesn't feel like a battlefield. As the trio walks ahead, Chanu Nam spots a motorcycle speeding toward them, and never one to waste a dramatic moment, pulls Ihyeon close like they're in an action movie. She's too stunned to speak, heart doing backflips, while Seon Kang looks 1 second away from filing a complaint, and she's not buying this protective hero act. Chanu casually points out the bike, like his arm isn't still wrapped around a flustered Ihyeon, who clearly did not sign up for physical closeness today.
Enjoying this story so far? Drop a comment showing your interest in a part 2. Your likes and comments fills my motivation to drop the next part, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.